watching another episode of Insightful Principles. Within today's video, I want to talk about the 6 stages of the economic cycle. It's very important with understanding the different changes within the economy when you think about expansionary and recessionary periods, and really want to highlight those other areas such as the peak to trough, as well as the recovery moments that we have within the economy, as well as if there is a depression. And another thing that you're going to get out of this video is just a better understanding of how the economy works and what are the different stages of the economic cycle. And it's very useful for investors and also entrepreneurs to understand this so they can be able to allocate investments and also be able to rebalance their portfolios. If you all can do me a huge favor, if you can like, subscribe, and share this video, that's greatly appreciated. So the first stage within the economic cycle is the expansionary period. Usually when we are in an expansionary period, we tend to see the real GDP is showing positive growth. It shows here 2 to 3% is the expected growth that we see within the economy. Also, stocks tend to enter inside of a bull market. And also when we are in an expansionary period, consumer confidence is high, personal income is up, as well as just wages, and we tend to see that consumer spending in the economy is very active when we are in an expansionary period. Also, the different factors to keep in mind that can certainly impact a lot of where we're at in the economic cycle is, of course, the gross domestic product, the real GDP, interest rates, total employment, as well as consumer spending. Now, also when it comes to the expansionary period, people tend to pay their debt on time and they're not getting behind on their bills, and just the velocity of money within the economy is a lot more vibrant, and also demand increases during that period as well. And then the next stage following after that is usually a peak period. That happened back in the fourth quarter of 2019, and also when we started to see the pandemic start to formulate in February of 2020, we were at a peak within our economic cycle. And this is a point where we're at a saturated point, where growth has hit its max. And this is really a reversal of economic growth, and consumers will tend to restructure their budgets within this period. And also think of this as resistance when you're doing technical analysis with stocks. With resistance, this is a point where the stock will not exceed. This is the highest point that the stock will go. This is the same type of mindset when it comes to a peak period within the economic phase. Now, a recession is the next stage after that, after the peak period, and this is when consumer spending goes down. The demand for goods and services also will decrease as well, and there tends to be an excess of supply within the economy. Now, the real gross domestic product will start to contract like we're starting to see now, with possibly a second quarter of negative growth. We'll know about that very soon this week when those numbers are released, July 28th, which is Thursday. But also in a recessionary period, personal income starts to go down, consumer confidence, people are very worried about the economy. They start to save a lot more. They start to become more cognizant of their debt levels and trying to pay their debts down. So that is a very, pivotal point. And also it could be a situation where people have to rely on more debt because they're needing to be able to maintain their standard of living because they may not be able to do it with their job. Now, the fourth stage after this is a depression. Now, this is when we see a rise in unemployment. The growth in the economy also declines. It continues to go down. And as you all have heard me talk before, the Great Depression, the last time we seen that was in the 1930s. So we haven't seen anything to meet those levels, but we certainly have seen like the Great Recession. Now, the fifth stage is the very bottom. This is called the Trough. And this is a period where the decline has reached its lowest point. It's more of like the support level when you think about when you're doing technical analysis with stocks. And it is a negative saturation point for an economy, and it also is a depletion of national income. We'll start to see that the national income within the economy is down, people aren't making as much, and consumer spending starts to decrease as well. Now, the last stage is the recovery stage. This is what we saw after the pandemic from around like April all the way to about August, September of 2020, where the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ recovered all of its losses that it had throughout the year. And the economy starts to recover from negative economic growth. We're not necessarily in a recovery point right now. We're more in a contracting stage at this moment because we are seeing negative growth within the economy. But when it comes to a recovery, demand begins to rise because of lower interest rates. Banks are trying to encourage more lending and also credit availability, so people will go out and start to get loans. As we've seen a lot throughout 2020, 2021, people were, using debt and different things like that to be able to buy assets or liabilities. Now, as a result, supply increases as well. So people will just have a positive attitude around investing into the markets, and also with just employment. And employment will increase during this period, and credit, like I mentioned, will become much more available as we have seen within the last 2 years. Now, just to put this into context, the last contraction phase that we had within our business cycle was the pandemic, like I mentioned, in February of 2020. And by April, unemployment had hit 14.8%. So we could see that unemployment was starting to go much higher. Consumer spending was also going down during that time, and prior to that, the economy was in an expansionary period for 11 years. After we had the Great Recession, from like June of 2009 all the way up into February of 2020, we were in an expansionary period. And we had the shutdown, as you all know, within the pandemic, because this was the response to try to get control of the health crisis, and the market started to recover throughout 2020. Also, we had a better 2021, and now we're at a point where things are starting to slow down, and this is mostly because of the stimulus that was created to help with the recovery, as well as the impact inflation has had on people's pocketbooks. And we're also in a QT environment. There's more tightening with our interest rates, so that's also playing a role with the contracting that we're seeing. So I hope this was helpful for you all. If you all could please like, subscribe, and share this video. Don't forget to hit that notification bell at the bottom of the screen so you can be notified each week when I drop content. And I thank you all so much for watching this video, and take care.